Good evening, it's Sunday the 10th of January and welcome to a brand new edition of Newsfirst Weekend. I'm Maithripala. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
President elaborates the challenges the government faces.
යුද්ධය ඇති වූ හේතු හොයලා නැවත යුද්ධයක් ඇතිවීම වළක්වන්න අවශ්‍ය පරිසරයක් සියලු අංශවල ගොඩනගන්න උත්සාහ ගන්නා විට මේවාට දේවදත්තලා හරස් වෙලා ඉන්නවයි කියලායි මම විශ්වාස කරන්නේ.
JVP issues a reminder on the government's role.
ඕරු 1900 හාල්මස්සෝ තල්මස්සෝ විශාල රොත්තක් ඉන්නවා. ඒ කිරණ කඩුමක් නෑ.
Final rites observed for youth killed in Ambilipitia. Large-scale drug peddler arrested with heroin worth nearly 30 million rupees.
President Maithripala made a statement today about the opportunistic nature of politics. President Sirisena expressed these views while attending a special event organised to present credentials to the new Chief Sanganayaka of the Colombo district of the Askeri chapter of the CM sect, Venerable Nikula Dharmakirti Sri Silaratana Panyasara Thera. The event was held at the Sri Bodhiranja Viharaya in Colombo Fort.
ව්‍යවස්ථාවට අවශ්‍ය වෙනස්කම් මේ යුගයට තිබී යුතු ගැළපීම්.
The Prime Minister and I made statements in Parliament on the changes that are necessary for the Constitution and political reforms that have to be made with adjustments that are suitable for the current era. Many falsehoods are being spread across society on this matter. What is evident among the majority of these falsehoods is that they wish to create discord in the country. These are intended to create tensions in the country, destabilize the government politically, sabotage the new government's program, and to denigrate the good faith that the people have placed in the ruling party politicians. This is what I can see in many of these false statements. I saw that it was said that the word unitary would be removed from the constitution. I saw a former senior minister claiming that the place given to Buddhism in the constitution would be taken away. My dear chief prelates, I see effort to divide communities, divide the Mahasangha and divide the people of a country as a sin that is equal to cardinal sins. Where has such a thing been written in this government? Where is the draft? Those who say these things may be seeing dreams in their sleep that if this government does these things, then they can topple it soon and form a government of their own. The only motive behind their statements is to be the next to claim power. I believe that these Devadattas are standing in the way of our efforts to create an inclusive environment in order to prevent another war.
නැවත යුද්ධයක් ඇතිවීම වළක්වන්න අවශ්‍ය පරිසරයක් සියලු අංශවල ගොඩනගන්න උත්සාහ ගන්නා විට මේවාට දේවදත්තලා හරස් වෙලා ඉන්නවයි කියලායි මම විශ්වාස කරන්නේ.
Speaking at an event in Veeravilla Maharama today, Minister of Housing and Construction Sajid Premadasa levelled allegations at the opposition.
2015 වසරේ 2 mandates were received in the year 2015 to change the executive presidency. But what has happened now? Those who lost and are in the opposition now, after scrounging off the country by using the executive system, are now venturing on a journey to change the presidential system. At a time when our government, who said the executive presidency will be abolished and are now trying to change it or amend it to fulfill the wishes of the people, these persons are saying no, this system is wrong and that we have to rethink about this system. This is utterly shameful on their part. The event took place in the Subodhagama area in Veeravilla to hand over the new drinking water project to the people.
Various views were expressed on the political stage today on the government's efforts to redraw the constitution.
We want to do this in the open. We have seen that when we have closed door talks with political parties, they say one thing inside the meeting and something else when they come outside. That is why we have established a committee of the entire House in Parliament empowering all the MPs. There were amendments to this proposal. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party has submitted amendments. MP Dinesh Gunawardena has submitted amendments. Anyone can submit amendments in the future. Our country needs a constitution that cannot be changed even if all the MPs in Parliament vote for it. If there are any shortcomings in our program, then point it out. But do not incite the people by portraying falsehoods.
The President and the Prime Minister are constantly thinking about creating an environment in our country where all people can live as Sri Lankans with rights regardless of their ethnicity or religion.
අපේ ජනාධිපතිතුමා
Today our president visits the north and the south. Fraternity has been created among the communities. We were battered by terrorism for 30 years. Sinhalese, Tamils and Muslims were killed by the terrorists. The president has told us that the country comes first and the party second. Previously the ruler said the country came first and second, but what was practiced was extremism.
ක්‍රියාවේදී වුණේ අන්තවාදය. මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයත් එක්ක ඉන්න උදවිය
Those who are with Mahinda Rajapaksa ask what has been done in the country in the past year. We wish to remind them that on the 8th of January, Mahinda Rajapaksa's group was able to stage a demonstration opposite the Fort Railway Station against President Maithripala Sirisena's victory. We did not have that freedom when they were in power. This is the victory that we have won.
කොටුවේ දුම්රිය පොළ ඉස්සරහා අපිට එහෙම නිදහසක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. දැන් මේ රටේ මේ අවස්ථාවේදී කවුරුත් දැන්
No one in this country speaks for communalism anymore. We will not let anyone topple this government which has enabled the Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus and Catholics to live together with unity.
There's a major shortcoming in this government. This government does not understand marketing. What this government does is not being sold or promoted among the people. The previous government spent 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week, selling more than what they had done to the people. This is why those who were defeated are asking what has been done. They have forgotten that the journey to authoritarianism was halted through the 19th Amendment. They have forgotten that the white van culture has been stopped. In short, even the person who attempted to assassinate the president has been granted a pardon.
Accusations were raised today at the Socialist Youth Front's Anuradhapura district summit that authorities have failed to take any action against the corrupt.
We say that they must fulfill at least one of the promises they made before they draft a new constitution. Fulfill 2 or 3 promises at the very least. They said that thieves would be caught, but they haven't captured even one. Not a single corrupt person has been punished. We believe that the motivation behind the constitution is to distract the people from their problems. They said various persons were involved in Tajuddin's murder. They spoke of accusations of massive financial fraud. They spoke of sharks, shrimps, sprats and whales when talking about the corrupt, but none of them have been punished.
Have we forgotten?
In 2014, the previous regime planned the Northern Expressway project at an estimated cost of 120 billion rupees. Under this project, it was proposed to construct a stretch of road from Kadawatha to Mirigama, comprising of 6 lanes and 2 interchanges. However, following the appointment of the 100-day government, the estimate for this proposal came under scrutiny and the new government stated that it had slashed unnecessary expenditure.
We are cutting down on the expenditure and the corruption. That needs to be wiped out. The section of the Central Expressway will be open for public bidding.
මධ්‍යම අධිවේගී මාර්ගයේ කොටස ළඟදීම අපි ඒක ප්‍රසිද්ධ දෙන්නට යනවා.
On the 3rd of August 2015, the first phase of the construction of this project, renamed as the Central Expressway, commenced under the patronage of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. The estimated cost of this project is 145.9 billion rupees. The cost per kilometre is 4.5 billion rupees. Convening a media briefing on the 5th of August, several members of the then opposition said that the 100-day government, which criticised the estimated cost of the previous government, has commenced construction of the expressway at a much higher cost.
The Prime Minister tables a cabinet paper after nullifying the one that was presented by the Minister of Highways. Rather than appointing a committee which should comprise of ministry secretaries and other officials, he had appointed persons based on his whim to the committee in question. During our government, the cost of a kilometre was 3.36 billion rupees. However, this time around, a kilometre costs 4.7 billion rupees. Through this cabinet paper, Ranil Wickremesinghe has stolen almost 50 billion rupees of the taxpayers' money.
Despite the fact that the expenditure on the proposed expressway gained much criticism, in the end, the contract for the construction of the expressway was given to the same Chinese company. Even the loan obtained for the project was from the same Chinese bank.
If you take this particular thing, the Wickremesinghe government claimed that the section of the highway from Kosinna to Mirigama, which they have now given to the same company that had got the earlier contract they complained of, Kadawatha to Kosinna, that has got a contract at about 4.5 million per kilometre. Now they were complaining, but when they cut it, it turned out that they had left out a great many of the features of that road that would have made it safer. The lanes, instead of provision for 6 lanes, it was made provision for 4. But in addition, far from there being savings, they claimed that 30 million was saved. This was in a cabinet paper. But then they simply reported to cabinet that the savings would be spent on this little section of road, the 4-kilometre stretch. And that means that if the Prime Minister was correct in claiming 30 million was saved through the renegotiation, that means this little section of road, you are paying, the people of Sri Lanka are paying 7.5 billion per kilometre. Now that is absolutely shocking.
Have we forgotten?
Convening a media briefing at the Ministry of Ports and Shipping today, Subject Minister Arjun Ranatunga said that persons who were involved in irregularities which are said to have taken place at the ministry have been identified.
The investigation on these matters are being conducted by the Presidential Investigation Unit, FCID and CID. Moreover, we have received a short report on this from Nalin Laduhetti, and within the next week, he will submit the main report to us. By handing this report to the President and the Prime Minister, we cannot implement the law. We must let the relevant authorities to implement the law. Therefore, I will hand this report over to the FCID, CID and the Presidential Investigative Unit and let them implement the law.
Taking a look at another one of our headline-making stories, a drug smuggler has been arrested in Maligawata today with a stash of heroin worth nearly 30 million rupees.
Authorities say that 1 kilogram and 750 grams of heroin were found in the suspect's possession. The anti-vice squad of the Maligawata police stated that the drug peddler in question was arrested after information obtained from 2 other suspects who were arrested during raids carried out over the past 4 days.
The final rites of Sumit Prasanna Jayawardena, who was allegedly murdered during a party in Ambilipitia, was held this afternoon.
This youth was allegedly murdered during a clash which erupted during a party of a businessman's daughter in Ambilipitia. The party was held at a 3-storied building owned by the businessman on the 4th of this month. Every resident charged that the arrival of the police at the party had led to the confrontation, a claim the police rejected. The footage recorded on mobile phones by witnesses at the time of the incident has been circulating on several social media networks, including Facebook. Amid protests which erupted against the incident, the Ambilipitia Assistant Superintendent of Police was given mandatory leave, while 21 other police officers, including the police HQI, were given transfers. The Ambilipitia town was filled with white flags, notices and banners today for the final rites of the victim. The public who arrived to pay their last respects signed a petition demanding the government to arrest the police officer responsible for the crime.
What I have to say to the police is this. How can a girl's coming-of-age party be an illegal assembly? What will happen to this family now? I make a direct appeal to the President to ensure that justice is served.
The court order was issued to the victim's pregnant wife to prevent from any unruly behavior during the funeral.
I wish to ask if they can give this unborn child a father. Therefore, I say to the Inspector General of Police, Sir, at the very least, ensure that justice is served.
The Ambilipitia Magistrates Court issued another injunction order preventing illegal protests and demonstrations. The acting magistrate of Ambilipitia ordered that protests with the use of empty coffins cannot be held. Around 500 police STF personnel from Thanumalwila, Tangol, Udavalava and Siyamvalanduwa were deployed to ensure security in the area during the funeral. A heightened security presence was also witnessed on the access road to the Ambalipitia police station. The final rites for Sumit Prasanna Jayawardena were observed at the Ambalipitia public cemetery.
An individual was killed in a shooting that took place in Nagonaheva area in Kadawatha this morning.
Police said that around 20 individuals were arrived in a van and a car had initially hacked the individual and then shot him. The victim is a 46-year-old resident of the Wabada area. Another individual who had been with the victim when the armed group carried out the attack is currently receiving treatment at the Ragam hospital with serious injuries.
I have nothing to say, but only the fact that I lost my brother. This has been done by the so-called Mavaramandye Chandi. There is a person called Sapumal, but we have never seen him. It was Suduwa's gang who did this.
Residents of Karathiana staged a demonstration today demanding that authorities take steps to remove a landfill in the area.
The protest was held in Bokundra today. Demonstrators said the landfill has had a severe impact on their day-to-day lives and is harmful to the environment.
Intimidation has been used against this protest movement. Even yesterday, a threatening incident occurred at my house. Unidentified persons in three-wheelers loitered around my house and attempted to intimidate us. If we do not receive a response to this matter, we will involve foreign environmental organizations. UN conventions have been violated through this. Human rights conventions have been violated. Health authorities must look into this issue, and if they fail to do so, we will not hesitate to take further action.
This landfill, where waste has been dumped for close to 15 years, spans an area of about 37 acres. The landfill, which is located in an area under the purview of the Casbaba Urban Council, is administered by the Western Provincial Council. Waste that is collected within municipalities including Casbaba, Dehiwala Mount Lavinia, Moratua, Maharagama and Borlasgamua is dumped here.
Waste from this landfill flows down like lava when it rains. An entire layer is washed away and it spreads. If this continues, there won't be any animals left here.
We wake up to the sight of the waste mountain. The waste spreads every day. Everyone here has contracted dengue at some point. The stench is so severe here that it can be smelled in adjoining areas. We feel like our noses are blocked by the stench.
Newsfirst made inquiries from the Chief Minister of the Western Province on what steps, if any, would be taken with regard to the Karadian landfill in order to alleviate the suffering of the residents.
There's a large amount of money behind this business. There are people who are making large amounts of money from foreign companies by excavating in Karadiana. I will order the OIC of the police to stop this. Private companies collect waste in Borlasgamu and then transfer it to the tractors belonging to the urban council. They pay off the drivers to load the waste onto the tractors and then they dump it in Karadiana. I will order them not to grant bail from tomorrow. I cannot create a solution. I cannot solve a problem that has existed for several years in the country within 3 to 4 months.
Speaking at an event held at Temple Trees today, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe commented on the government's plans for the economy.
Representatives of Youth Parliament and members of the Youth Clubs Federation were present at this occasion.
දැන් අපි ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයත් අනික් දේශපාලන පක්ෂත් එකතු කරගෙන කටයුතු කරන්නේ.
We have joined with the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and other political parties to strengthen the middle class and to broaden the middle class. We wish to transform low-income earners to high-income earners. This is why we have prioritized the program to generate 1 million jobs. Today, the country's revenue is used in its entirety to pay off our debts. So in order to create jobs and generate wealth, we must look to local and foreign investment. At the same time, we have been able to commence work on establishing high economic development zones. We have identified Hambantota as one such zone. We are also drawing up plans to establish these zones in Horana, Raigama, Divulapitia, Kuliapitia and Mahaoya.
Raigama, Adikalapayat, Divulapitia, Kuliapitia අතර මහාය අධිකලාපයත් දැන් ආරම්භ කරන්නට සැලසුම් හදාගෙන යනවා.
With the increased numbers of travellers seeking out Sri Lanka as a hot destination, more and more attention is being drawn towards the so-called surfing hotspots across the island. Local vendors in some of these areas claim that due to a lack of attention from authorities, they are seeing little progress.
The Valigama beach is the latest addition to a host of sun and surf hotspots on the Sri Lankan coast, including Mirissa, Ahangama and Midigama. While the waves in Valigama are not at the standard of the swells in Arugambe, many surfers have begun to travel here. The president of the Arugambe Surfing Club, Krishant Arya Sena, says that the natural sandbar of the Valigama coast makes this an ideal location for surfing. Local beachfront entrepreneurs say that more than 400 tourists are visiting the Valigama beach each day.
It's like for beginners. It's like on the beach, it's no stones or nothing, so you don't hurt your foot when you're going into the...
People here are amazing, the surf's really good, there's plenty of surf schools, the weather's amazing.
About 200 or 300 tourists come to the beach, but there is no mention of it anywhere. It is simply listed as a normal beach in the guidebooks. We ask that this area be developed further. We ask that the authorities take an interest in this area.
Sports First received reports today that Sri Lankan fans who had come to Eden Park were confronted by stadium security at local police.
As Sri Lankans, we know that we enjoy our music and we love cheering on our team. But unfortunately, the security was quite past about the whole thing. But they took us out, arrested 3 of our boys and took away our drums. Some sort of discrimination to the point of pinning down a boy. This is not how it should be.
Even New Zealand fans at the cricket match had expressed their displeasure on social media. Many of the Kiwi fans had stated that the fans of visiting teams should be allowed to freely support their team. Sri Lankan fans were harassed today. Musical instruments were taken away. It was a very unpleasant scene. As sport fans, we condemn such incidents occurring in a country like New Zealand.
We usually see the Sri Lankan fans singing and dancing and jumping around. Subdued this time.
Speaking to Sports First, sport blogger and commentator on Radio New Zealand, Jamie Wall, said such an incident has never occurred in the past.
I was at Eden Park today to watch the cricket match between New Zealand and Sri Lanka, and I saw a lot of Sri Lankan fans being ejected from the ground. New Zealand crowd was very unhappy with this. We love having the Sri Lankan fans over here. And so it was very sad for us to see this happen, and it made the atmosphere very, very poor.
Unpleasant scenes were witnessed today at the Premier League club rugby match between Kandy SC and Navy SC at Maithripala. Tensions had been high throughout the match with altercations between the players. However, the game continued with Kandy SC outclassing Navy SC to finish the first round of the league with an unbeaten record. At the full-time whistle, Kandy were leading Navy 29 points to 10. And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Weekend Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.